Top of your head, but you have to choose one name instead. Or you give this to the very top. Yeah. So you saw like his father. But it's like yeah. What else? So there could be grounds that the biological precursor to genetic training. Yeah, because our guy Mark.
It might be that, it might be something else, but you just need to help with the future, like, maybe it's a little amount of. Which cause it to take risks. Take risks, you know, problem, the problem is. Yeah.
Doesn't mean so.
I tried this out. So good idea. Just because of the use of again, love and maternal figures, maybe they couldn't
At this point, but I can give you one if you want to have a copy. Where did it go? And then, if you ever miss again, just send me a quick email and I'd be happy to send it to you. And then, as I was telling you, I'm trying to do 11 of them. But I'll give you this one. But, yeah, make up this point, just take that in my, I'm trying to do 11 of this. So it's not. Thank you.
So from that, we're saying, oh, and that's so that's I still feel.
All right, let's talk about him a little bit and then I'll collect it from you. And so what I'd love to do is just go through each one and we'll see what you came up with. And again, with some of these, I think you can put multiple things in multiple places. So part of the challenge is kind of trying to figure out where it fits best. And it might fit in more than one spot. So let's look at biology. Anyone have something biological that you wrote down? Yeah.
Possibly a chemical imbalance in his brain that wants to make him seek dopamine or adrenaline and those types of chemicals, which is making him take a lot of risks. Something that Kyle brought up was also possibly from his father that an inherent substance abuse problem came from.
Oh, you did it.
You're like, that was my thought too. Yeah, so
that was his thought.
Right. So something genetic, a chemical imbalance, those are both really wonderful ideas from that. Anyone have anything else there? I think those are two of the big ones, but yeah. Yeah. I love that, right? And we've been really like looking into that a lot more in the last like 5 to 10 years of how trauma as a child rewires your nervous system and can change the way you respond into adulthood, right? So all those things, great.
He showed or he seeked an adrenaline rush at a very early age with like picking fights and like acting out as a means of getting attention, right? But also really enjoying the adrenaline rush, which is why he goes into the firefighter profession.
Yeah, I love that, right? I love that. The thrill-seeking behavior, which can be evidence of that neurotransmitter deficiency. I feel like a proud parent right now, like very nice so far, right? Great start. How about psychodynamic, Freudian? What's some Freudian stuff that we could say? Yeah.
Freud love relating back to his childhood.
Yeah.
Have a traumatic childhood. He feels like, for example, people always abandoning him, where his father abandoned him, and the relationships aren't going to work out because he didn't with his parents. I think that was a big one. I want to pass it out.
No, that's great though, right? Childhood, back to childhood, relationships with his parents would be a huge source. What else? Anything else that anyone wrote, for Freudian psychodynamic? Yeah.
His mom,
Yeah.
like trouble romantic relationship.
Very that set the stage as a child, right? And a troubled relationship with a mom or even a caregiver would be like, Freud would be all over that, right? That would definitely be something you would have looked at. Is that it? Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I love that though, right? Like looking at like the ego and super ego, it feels very unchecked, but then there's some super ego stuff there as well. That's fantastic. Anything else? I think those are all the big ones, but anything else there? Behaviorally? Yeah. You were ready. I like that. Yeah.
I said that, I want to be a firefighter, has to do with like, he likes the status and attention that comes with it, and because it's like, he probably learned that from his childhood by like all making fights and stuff and doing crime. Because he learned that like making a scene or doing something big, like whether it's a good or bad thing, gets an attention from his peers, from which he lacked from his parents growing up. And so he believes, and so unconsciously he believes that anything can give it good attention.
Yeah. Very much like rewarded for that, right? And that behavior there. Yeah.
His father was in and out of prison, and especially after his mother left, he only had like the one role model, adult role model in that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like trouble with the law, like vandalism, everything, physical alterations with other classmates going on. So,
Yeah.
already.
A lot of events, a lot of learned behavior and conditioning from him, rewarded for those things, and then seeking that praise, right? Like he got that praise from the elementary school talks that he gets to reinforce that behavior. How about from a cognitive perspective, his thoughts? What do we got about his thoughts? Yeah.
Maybe not only on top of the adrenaline rush for firefighting, but taking him for like a more noble career will get him out of the path that his parents were,
Okay.
like jail, etc. So he can kind of get away with more things, was the way, because he's still in a noble career.
Okay, so kind of like the thoughts around pursuing that career.
It justifies his other behavior.
Okay, got it.
Like, oh, I can do drugs, whatever. I'm a firefighter, so I still be good.
I'm still good,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Yeah.
I pointed out something that was kind of contradictory in his like logic. So
Yeah.
he's like self-proclaimed, like I'm not gonna make any like lasting relationships with anyone.
Yeah.
But he's in a profession that relies on like almost like brotherhood level of like trust and
Sure.
ability
Camaraderie
to
there.
achieve like impossible goals. So it's like this contradiction is that he doesn't want close relationships, but he's in a profession that relies on close relationships. And he's also doing drug abuse, which might
Compromise that too, right?
compromise
Yeah.
like his ability to perform the job and make that lose a job. So it's just like this standards that he's putting on himself, but not actually holding it to.
Okay, I love that, right? Yeah.
He expressed a very close relationship with his mother.
Yeah.
And after she left, in like going into his adult life, he can't form a long-term relationship with his mother.
Okay. Kind of going back to that. Right, and there's a statement, I slipped a like sentence in there. Did anyone find the black and white sentence? Yeah, anybody? There was a black, yeah, did you find it? Yeah, it's the one, people only let you down or leave, right? That's very black and white thinking, right? There's obviously everything in the middle as well, that like you might have a relationship that isn't super successful, but they don't necessarily always just let you down or leave. Yeah.
So to caveat that, was I have it here that like, it's almost an illogical thought process and like a self-fulfilling prophecy of like, if everyone's gonna leave, I'll just continue to keep pushing people away. So if he
I'll do it first.
behavior first before people can leave.
Yeah, very typical of someone with like an avoidant attachment style. I'll push you away before you can push me away. How about from a humanistic existential model? Yeah, and then I'll go over there.
He seems to value freedom,
Yeah.
but also keeps in his mind the idea that whoever he's trying to bond with will eventually leave him. So it kind of leads him down to a job that keeps things moving to leave any long-term relationships behind. Just, hey, I can always move to the next thing and the next thing to give me something that I value and makes me feel important and
Yeah.
see instead of everybody else.
And looking at all those things that are valued and meaningful to him, a huge part of that perspective, right? Yeah.
I said that the turn his like need for attention and his like ability to act quickly and to find like everything that was like bad in his childhood and like him fighting doing crime. He turned it into a good thing by being a firefighter.
Yeah.
So he's like he's turning those things into a thing by like helping his community and stuff and getting children and he enjoys doing it.
Yeah.
So he's being a successful person and he's doing good.
Yeah, he took all of that and is doing good with it, right? And like that perspective is so about like what is good and what gives you meaning and so on. But here and then with it, yeah.
To piggyback off what Kyle said earlier, it's how he's not able to create like close relationships. But yet he has to rely on other people at his job.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he uses that like as to fill the void of his childhood.
Mm.
To like repair that
Yeah.
hole.
As a way to repair. I like that, right? It'd be very good at like sublimation, right? In terms of like defense mechanisms. I love that. Love that. Yeah.
I don't think became a firefighter, didn't really get time on.
Yeah.
So like it said in adulthood, he was like acting out in various ways, still getting in trouble being an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
But like maybe like the sense of meaning, purpose, like maybe there was a shift within him where like it maybe helped him get sober or change. So like helping his community and doing that, like through like finding fulfillment in that direction, he was able to you know, find a higher level.
Yeah, right. He definitely kind of gets that higher purpose. And yeah, it's always hard with these things. You're always like, I want more information, right? But yeah, I think that's a great point. Yeah. Sure. Mhm. Yeah. So it might really give him a big sense of meaning and identity, which again, so connected to that branch. Last one, how about culturally, sociocultural stuff? Yeah.
So when I was going into this kind of like got rid of the whole abnormal behavior, but saying that a lot of this systemic and like inequality he's been facing, all of his responses has been like an adaptive like stress response kind of thing. So rather than it being like normal, this is his way of coping with the stuff he's been raised with and like continuing on like later into life. He's still facing a lot of inequality. They mentioned that he's still not being paid for what he's worth kind of thing.
Right.
As a firefighter. So it's like it's just kind of a systemic thing where it's just his code.
Yeah, and systemic stuff would fall perfectly under here. Anyone have anything else like culturally, socioculturally? Yeah.
One of the things that, again, to caveat off is I feel like he didn't have that strong sense of social, like, upbringing, culture, or anything, so he's creating a culture within the firefighting service.
Yeah.
You're saying, like,
That's his new
he's
culture.
finding his new tribe, essentially, that sense of, like, people that he can relate to and be, you know, a productive member of society or feel wanted in society.
No, I love that, right? Finding a new culture. Yeah, did you want to add something?
Kind of like, that it's kind of like my impression of it is he kind of has like ingrained societal expectations with like men and emotions.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
negative kind of connotation, and I think also like in that career, like there's sort of every type of like firefighters and like as like a heroic, brave, tough guy kind of persona.
Mm-hmm.
I think that maybe that also contributes to like the behaviors outwardly. And
Yeah.
possibly use.
Some of those expectations and stereotypes. You could also add expectations and stereotypes related to race and socioeconomic status that were like kind of slipped in there as well. Really nicely done. And of course, like, again, right, we take someone like Mark or anybody who comes in to like be diagnosed or to approach therapy. It's probably a combination of everything that you just mentioned that led to how he is, right? It's all of those models together, but we tend to look at them separately before we then combine them, right? Did you have a So if you want to make sure your first and last name is on there and pass those up, and then we'll move on to chapter 3. Even better. Okay, so next chapter. This is the last chapter before the disorders, right? Last one, and then we get into the actual disorders after this. So one more piece. How do we assess people to arrive at a diagnosis? And then we'll talk about all the diagnoses, right, the rest of the semester. So in this chapter, we're going to look at clinical assessment. If somebody goes into a therapist or like a clinician, how do we gather information and assess them so we can arrive at a diagnosis so then we know how to treat someone? Okay, and there are a lot of different ways that we can do this, and that's what we'll focus on for the next couple of days. So when we assess something, we're gathering information to help us understand. Okay? At some point in here, in a couple of weeks, you'll have an assessment in here. Your first exam is my way of assessing how well do you understand and like grasp the materials that we've covered. In clinical assessment, we're trying to determine like what's going on with somebody who's struggling, right? What symptoms are they showing? How long have they had them? Like we're trying to gather all the information about how and why a person is behaving abnormally so that we can make sense of that information with a diagnosis, which will then guide our treatment. Okay? And there are a lot of different ways that we can do this. Typically what we do, we call it a battery of assessments. What that means is rather than using just one, we use a bunch of different methods together. Okay, so we might interview somebody and talk to them. We might give them like an intelligence test, especially if they're young, right? When children go into a counselor or an academic counselor, they're often given some kind of test of intelligence or personality. It's been common. We might do like a medical exam if we believe that something medical is wrong. Right? We're going to gather as much information as we can with a battery of assessments, a bunch of different tests, and that allows us to arrive at a diagnosis or a conclusion. I imagine some of you have maybe even taken some of these tests that we're going to talk about, and I have one or two tests for you to give you today as well, today and next time. Yeah. If you wanted to do them for yourself, or to give them to someone else. Oh, as well as a clinician. Okay. Yeah, so typically you have to be trained in each one of these things. Some of them are more informal and some you have to be trained and be recognized or certified to do. But usually if you're trained, you have access to them, right? But people sometimes specialize in these and that's all they do. It depends on the test. Some of them are provided and others you have to send someone out to like a specific place to have them do it. Like, so it kind of depends a little bit. So I have a little video just to introduce assessment. It's from The Simpsons, right? So Bart is going to assess Homer here. Probably not the best form, but it contains multiple forms of assessment as like a nice little introduction to assessment. So I'll play a side note. Actually, like insanity is not a mental illness, right? We'll talk about it at the end of the semester, but insanity is actually a legal term that we use to describe like if someone was aware of their actions when a crime was committed. We'll talk about that in the last chapter, but they use a questionnaire with him. They marking yes or no to everything. Right, they interview him, they show him the little like ink blots, we'll talk about those. So a couple of different ways of assessing him. Before we get to the different assessments, one last thought here. In order for a test to be good and worth using, it has to have these three things. Okay, and I guarantee every single one of you at some point in your academic career, whether it was elementary, middle school, high school, or here, has taken a bad test. Right? I want you to think back. Like, can anyone think of a bad test that they took? Like, what made it bad? Like, if you think about it, like, if you took an exam in a class, what made it bad? Anyone think of one? Yeah.
Not a specific, but more like if there was no real grading system, it was very subjective.
Sure.
It was just like, oh, I think you did well, and you're like, well,
yeah,
I did mine. What's the ratio? But
Okay, so like a really subjective grading
Yeah.
system. Okay, what else? Yeah.
Confusion on what they're actually asking.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer the question. I don't even know what you're asking me, right? If any of you ever sat down to take a test and you're like, you didn't cover any of this, right? Like some of you are like, yeah, right? Tests can be awful, right? I won't give you one like that ever, I promise. Right, but if you sit down and you go to take it and it's nothing you covered, are you actually assessing your knowledge of that topic if you never even covered it? I had a test once in graduate school where every single person in the class got a different version of the test. And everybody had a different number of questions. And so like the person next to me had 2 and I had like 9. I was like, how is this fair? Right? Different number of questions. It wasn't standardized. If it doesn't cover things well, it's not clear, right? Maybe it's subjective in the grading. If you don't have these 3 things in a test, the stuff that you get from it might be largely meaningless. So if a test isn't standardized, reliable, and valid, then the information doesn't mean a whole lot. Standardized means that everybody can have like a direct comparison. So if you think, for example, about like a standardized test like the SATs or the GREs or the ACTs, all those awful letter tests, right? All of them have like a standard score, 1200, but it's the same thing from person to person to person. A scale is an assessment of your weight. I know better than to step on it, right? But like I have one in my bathroom and they're all supposed to be calibrated so that a pound is a pound is a pound is a pound, right? If I step on the scale at home and it says 200 pounds, right? And then I go to the gym and it says 180, and then I go to the doctor and it says 240, right? Like, what do I weigh, right? And I don't think any of those numbers are accurate, right? But like I said, I don't step on the scale, but you want it to be the same. You expect a little bit of variability. Maybe the one at the gym says 182, when the one at home says 181, and the doctor says 180. Like a little bit of variability is okay. But if they're not standardized, then that information means nothing. You also want it to be reliable. If I step on the scale today and it says a number and it's wildly different tomorrow, and I couldn't have possibly had that wild of a day, like that information isn't helpful. You want it to be consistent. It produces like stable, consistent scores. One way that we get around this sometimes is if we give people half of the test and then we give them the other half and we compare the results between the two. You also want it to be valid or accurate. It's actually measuring what it's been designed to measure, right? If when I give you your first exam, I ask you questions about my class before this on human sexuality, I'm not actually assessing your understanding of this time. I'm assessing now. So we want a test to have these 3 things. I have a bad test for you. Just for fun, I have a bad test I would like to give you. And we could talk about why it's bad, but it's the Oreo personality test, right? Like, oh, last semester I brought my daughter in with me and this hers is on top. It's pretty cute, right? So
Oreos?
what was that?
Do we get to eat an Oreo?
I actually brought you Oreos. Because it's so mean to make you think about Oreos and not give you Oreos. I'm not a monster. But, okay, so I'm gonna start one over here and I'll start one over there. Grab an Oreo. I don't have milk. You wanna open it, just grab 1 or 2 and then turn around. Oh, we'll pass them down. Yeah,
No.
So as you take this very, very informal test, I just want you to pick the method or methods that most represents how you eat Oreos. Okay? All you're just gonna do is circle it. If you don't like Oreos, there's an option for that as well. And you have to eat the Oreos, otherwise I have to eat them all. Just, so they don't go to waste.
1 Oreo or 2 Oreos?
You help yourself. I'll put them at the front when you leave if there's extra. Woo! Yeah, right. I love Oreos. Sometimes. Okay, very informal test.
We haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll give you just a minute or two. Circle the 1 or whatever options match how you eat Oreos, and then I'll tell you what they mean and we'll talk about it. All right. You need more time in your selection to come, guys.
I went with 1.8.
Life is better with cookies, right? Okay, so I'm gonna read you the results of these. Now, I would like to preface this, I did not come up with this test. And some of these are kind of mildly insensitive, which makes it kind of funny, I think, but just know that this is a bad test, okay? And if it's mildly insensitive, just kind of shrug it off. Okay, let's go with the first one. How many of you said the whole thing all at once? Maybe your method or one of your methods? Two of you? Okay. You consume life with abandon. You're fun to be with, exciting and carefree, with some hits of recklessness. You're totally irresponsible, and no one should trust you with their children. Now you know, right? Okay. The next one, one bite at a time. A lot of you, okay. You're lucky to be one of the 5.4 billion other people who eat their Oreos this exact same way. Just like them, you lack imagination, but that's okay. Don't worry, you're completely normal. Okay. Slow and methodical nibbles. Anybody? Nobody ever wants to like admit to that one. A couple people? Okay, good. All right. Slow and methodical nibbles. You tend to follow the rules. You're tidy and orderly, meticulous in every detail with everything you do, to the point of being anal retentive and irritating to others. Stay out of the fast lane if you're only going to go the speed limit. All right, number 4, feverish nibbles. I picture like a squirrel, like eating it really quickly. I don't know. Feverish nibbles, just in case that's you. Your boss likes you because you get your work done quickly. You have a million things to do and never enough time to do them. Mental breakdowns run in your family. All right, number 5, dunked in some kind of liquid. That's one of my methods. In case you were curious. Everyone likes you because you're always upbeat. You sugarcoat unpleasant experiences and rationalize bad situations into good ones. You're in total denial about the shambles you call a life. Now you know. All right, twisted apart the inside and then the cookie. That's my other one. You have a highly curious nature. You take pleasure in breaking things apart to find out how they work, but when you're not able to put them back together, you destroy all evidence of your activities. You deny your involvement when things go wrong. You're a compulsive liar and exhibit criminal behavior. Right? Next one, twisted apart the inside and you toss the cookie. Number 7, cookie tossers.
Just the inside.
Right, just the inside. All right, you're good at business and you take risks that pay off. You take what you want and you throw the rest away. You're also greedy, selfish, mean, and lack feelings for other people. You should be ashamed of yourself, but that's okay. You got yours. Right? All right, the next one, number 8. Just the cookie, but you don't eat the inside. A couple people, you enjoy pain. Period. Yeah. Right, you enjoy pain. All right, 2 more. I just like to lick them and not eat them. Couple people, that's funny. All right, stay away from small furry animals and seek professional help immediately. Last one, I don't have a favorite way because I don't like Oreos. Introduce that next to each other, right? Okay. All right. You probably come from a rich family. You like to wear nice things. You go to upscale restaurants. You're particular and fussy about the things you buy, own, and wear. You're pampered. You're a prima donna, and there's just no pleasing you. So, again, mildly offensive, but funny, and an excuse to eat Oreos. But why is this a bad test of your personality? Can anyone think of like some reasons why it might be bad? Yeah.
You only get one question that defines you the rest of who you are.
Okay, so one question defining all of you. We're not that simple, right? Like we're complicated. How we eat Oreos probably doesn't capture our personality. Probably, right? Is that a hint?
I was gonna say kind of baseless, like what is telling them that just because you can get a cookie like this, therefore this cancel it.
Yeah, is that really like, you know, accurate? Is it really valid? Like how you eat a cookie, does that really correlate to your personality? Maybe a tiny bit. What else? Yeah. Yeah, right. It's got some issues that way. How many of you chose more than one answer? Anyone have more than one? I'm a Gemini, so I chose two, naturally, right? Several of you, okay, so for me, it depends on how many Oreos I'm gonna eat, if I'm honest, right? Like if I'm gonna, this is for you too, right? If I'm gonna eat a lot of Oreos, I don't bother with the milk at all. I just twist it and eat the inside. But if I'm gonna only eat a few, then I dunk it in milk, right? It might depend on my mood or how many I'm gonna eat. So my results aren't gonna be consistent. It's gonna depend a little bit. That's one problem. You could easily standardize this. Like that's simple to do. Is there anything else you could think of why this might be bad? Yeah.
There aren't multiple options because one of the options could be I eat two at once.
Okay. So it might not capture all the ways you eat Oreos, right? My daughter, it's so sweet, right? She wrote it on here. My daughter does something that's really gross with her Oreos. I'll share it with you because she's not here, right? So my daughter does something she calls fish and dip with her Oreos.
What?
She's done it since she was a baby. Fish and dip. She does it every day, like literally every day. She takes the Oreo, opens it, and then uses goldfish and scoops the filling out and eats them with the goldfish, and then eats the Oreo afterward. Fish and dip, right? Oh, she wrote it on here. I eat it with my goldfish, right? Like, so maybe it doesn't account for all the ways that you eat Oreos. Yeah.
Whoever supposedly wrote the test was obviously very opinionated.
Yeah.
Test because, like, at the end of it, just being like, well, clearly we went from a lower class place that we enjoyed Oreos or
Right.
things like that. So it just feels like very personal. It's not even about the test itself. It's about what I judge.
Yeah. Right, very judgy, right? Written from a certain perspective. So this is an example of like a really, do you guys have a, just so I don't have to yell over you, right? Really bad test, right? Like your personality is way more complicated than Oreos. Like this could be part of a battery, but it's not going to have these three things, or at least these two things, right? We could standardize it, but it doesn't have the others. Oh, for sure. Like the fishing boat, right? Like, it's so gross. Like I said, she's done it since she was a baby, right? She'll probably do it tonight, and I'll be like, "Oh, I talked about you today," right? So you can hold on to that or get rid of it. I'll leave the Oreos up here at the end so you can take more as you leave, so that I'm not stuck eating them all, right? Don't.
Definitely not.
If you leave them all with me, my scale will go up, right? Like, just kidding. All right. So let's talk about some of the ways that we do actually assess it. Now that we know we want to standardize, reliable, and valid, there are a bunch of different things we can do. The most common one, if you go into a therapist, is they typically start with what's called a clinical interview. And this can be a little bit frustrating because sometimes people, when they go to therapy, they've been trying to get up the motivation for a long time to go, or maybe they've been trying to get a therapist or an appointment for a long time. And the first session is all about gathering information. You don't do any kind of like therapy necessarily. They ask you a lot of questions about why you're there. And that's what a clinical interview is. What brought you into this? How long have you been feeling these things? Like, tell me about your family. Tell me about your life. What do you do? It's just information, information, information. And sometimes, as I said, that can be a little frustrating when you want to get to something that's bothering you, right? But usually after the first session or two, you can do that. But the first session is a lot of questions. And the point is to get to know you, right? Like we use these feelings to evaluate like your personal history, your relationships, your childhood. What symptoms are you experiencing? And we love to slip in little questions too that are called a mental status exam. I remember the first time I met with my therapist, and I was like, "Did you just mental status exam me?" And she's like, "Uh-huh." And I was like, "Did I pass?" Right? Like, right? And the little things like, where are you right now? Do you know where you are? What's the date today? Right? Like, and if I asked you the date and you were off by like a day or two, I wouldn't worry. But if I asked you what's the date and you're like November 24, I'd be concerned, right? Like you're off by months and years, right? So like if you're really off on like you don't know where you are or like what's going on in the world around you, sometimes that can be indicative that it's a symptom, that maybe you're not in contact with reality, which we're going to add to our list of things that we've discovered as a part of that interview. So interviews are really common. And again, it's like the first few sessions where they're just talking to you, asking you standard questions. And sometimes they even give you like a sheet to fill out ahead of time so that you get some of that out of the way. Any like thoughts or comments, questions, anything so far, anything here before we keep going? Another one, not always used, but it might be part of a battery. If you think that it's relevant, would be some kind of neurological or psychophysiological test. So if we suspect that maybe there's something physically wrong, that medical model, that biological model, we might order a test to make sure. Okay, so maybe we order something like a CAT scan or an MRI or a PET scan, because we're curious if there's damage to part of the brain, if there's something we can identify that might be contributing, right? I shared with you that I had a seizure like last year in May, right? And the first thing they did was order a CAT scan and then an EEG and then a MRI, right? I had like multiple tests. Luckily, they all came back fine, but like we often check these things to make sure there's nothing abnormal if we suspect it's a problem. Right? If you go into someone because you're struggling with like depression or anxiety, they're not going to order this. But if you maybe are having lapses where you don't know what's real or not real, or you're like forgetting like things a lot, maybe there's something going on medically that might explain it. So we want to rule it out. This might be part of that battery of tests that we do to see what's going on. Another really common thing, especially with children, intelligence tests, right? IQ. IQ stands for intelligence quotient. Bless you. I don't know if any of you have taken statistics, but oh, that beautiful bell curve, right? Anyone know what the average IQ is? You had to guess, average IQ? Yeah. 90, a little higher. A little higher, I heard it, 100.
I don't know
Right?
what is standardized rap.
So 100 is considered like the average, right? And then what we do from there is we have standard deviations that go out. And so anybody that's like way out here or way down here would be in the extremes.
My thoughts been recalibrated.
Constantly, yeah.
On the day, it's been the same.
Yeah, good point, right? And the test keeps changing too, right? Like we keep updating the test. We're in the WACE 5 right now. One of the most common intelligence tests that's used is called the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale Revised. We're in the 5th edition. They keep updating it, and we get different norms and results and averages every time. Right? It's constantly changing. But with this test, what we do is we give you a bunch of different scales of intelligence. These ones are my nemesis. I am not spatially talented. And so they give you blocks and they say like rearrange them to match the pattern. And I'm like, there goes my IQ score. I can feel it. I can feel it dropping, right? But they do things like they give you a word and you have to define it or use it in a sentence. They give you pictures and you have to identify what's missing. There's all these little scales on it, right? So they have like the blocks and then picture completion, looking for patterns, and you do math and you do vocabulary. It's got tons of different scales to account for different strengths in intelligence, because there's a lot of different types of intelligence that people can have. And then we arrange all of these when we're done, we calculate an average, and then we can compare you to see where you fall like most people. Most people are going to fall right here. One standard deviation above or below the average. The farther away in the extremes you are, the more like diagnostically relevant it might be. Yeah.
So are the model tests actually good measures?
They're pretty good.
Originally,
Yeah, this one, the WACE is considered like the strongest test. It comes from like the Stanford Binet is another one that we can use. But this is a pretty good test psychometrically, meaning statistically it's very well supported by research.
So IQ is more valid measurement now than it was at least.
I don't know. I mean, there's still problems with it. IQ is very cultural, right? And it doesn't always capture all of our strengths. So like say, for example, like you're like me, you're really bad spatially. That's going to tank your IQ score, even if you're really high in other areas.
Because I know when it first came out, it was a very specific.
Yeah.
Because the test was meant for a very specific group.
Yeah, right. It's been like updated and revised 5 times for this one, right? They constantly try and make it a little more broad and representative, but they always have problems. Always. Every test has issues. No test is like perfect.
Various types of visual tests. Also, for some tests, you see instances. It really depends on the person. Person considering for this something. Yeah. Very tests. For example, I'm not good at English, I'm good at teacher. With visual.
Yeah, right. And I'm not great at math. And I'm good with vocabulary. Right. And so like the idea is that it all balances in some way. Right, that maybe you're really good here, but you're really low here, and so they all kind of average out. I have an intelligence test for you that I'm going to give you. It's better than the Oreo test, but it has problems, right? And I want you to think about those problems. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you like 8 or 9 minutes to take this test. Work on it by yourself. Don't look up the answers. Just do your best. Have fun with it, and then we can talk about. I'll share all the answers with you, and we'll talk about why it's not the best test. But it's a little bit better. We'll slowly get better. And then I actually have one really good test for you that's probably next time. So I'll hand this out. Don't start yet. We'll all start together so that we can stand it out. It's an empty desk. Okay, did everyone get one? Sorry, that some groups of my okay. Did anyone have a moment where you looked at this and what else? I don't know number one. Okay, hold on. Let me okay, so if you're looking at number one, what would the answer to number one be? Anyone know? Hours in a day. Okay, so one is a freebie. Okay, so the answer to number one is hours in a day. So you're figuring out, thank you, what the letters stand for. Okay, so hours in a day. And that's what you'll write on line one. Okay, so I'm going to give you 8 minutes. Do as many as you can. If you don't know it, skip it. Okay, but 8 minutes, don't look them up, and then we'll go through them together. In about 5 more minutes, a little less than 5 minutes. Three more minutes or so. As many as you can. Two more minutes. So just like 20 more seconds. I'm gonna wrap up the one or two that you're working on. I didn't stop with what I didn't have. Some of you look like that was like kind of easy and others like, so a lot of people looking up, right? Like, I will tell you the first time I did this, I had a really hard time with it. It's like you either fall into a groove with it or you don't, right? But let's go through it together. If you know the answer, we'll just say it out loud and we'll go through. Give yourself a point if you have it, or if you're really close, give yourself a point. So we said one was hours in a day. What's number two? Say it if you know it.
Letters of the alphabet.
Letters of the alphabet. It looks so obvious after you hear it. Right, number three. Days of the week. Number four. Wonders of the world. Nice job. I know it. Oh, number five.
Well, signs of the zodiac.
Signs of the zodiac. Nice job. Okay.
Oh, that's what that.
Number six. Books of the Bible. Right. All right, number seven.
53 cards in my life.
Cards in a pack without jokers, or physical deck that works too. You know, right?
I never won.
Number eight.
13 stripes in the United States flag.
Yes, stripes in the United.
Coming from the Brit, all right.
Hey, look at our
Very
flag.
nice, very nice, very nice. All right, number nine.
18 holes on a golf course.
Yes, you're killing it over there. Holes on a golf course. All right, number 10, my personal favorite.
Favors of basketball.
Yes, 31 flavors of basketball.
That's it, whatever.
A happy face next to it. Okay, let's go, right? Okay. Number 11. Toes on a foot. Yes, very nice. I heard it over there. Number 12.
Degrees in a right angle.
Yes, degrees on the right. No, very nice. 13. Three blind mice see how they run.
Oh, wow.
Number 14. 14.
Temperatures in degree Fahrenheit in which water freezes.
Yes, my science is evolved, right? Temperature in degrees Fahrenheit in which water freezes. 15. Digits in a zip code. 16.
3 wheels on a tricycle.
Wheels on a tricycle. Nice job. 17.
I think cents in a dollar.
Cents in a dollar. Cents in a dollar. 18. Players on a football or soccer team.
I don't.
So I don't know how accurate that is. It depends on the team, right?
2 letters.
Too many letters. Number 19.
Once in a year.
Once in a year. You're like, okay. 20.
2,000 pounds in a ton.
Pounds in a ton. 21.
8 temples on an octopus.
Yes. Tentacles on an octopus. I think we found your intelligence. All right, 22.
Is it February? Here.
Yeah, so everyone's like, oh, God, no. Days in February in a leap year, right? Days in February. 23.
Innings in a baseball game?
Yes. Very good. Unless it goes overtime, right? Like extra innings. All right. 24. Days in a year, right? 25.
I don't know it.
Yes, you got it. Loaves in a baker's dozen. Very nice.
Wait, 13 what?
Loaves, like a loaf of bread.
Oh,
Loaves.
I didn't know, I put lemon, but. I knew the favorite,
Doesn't
that's what I knew.
give yourself credit. I think that counts, right? I made a loaf of bread this weekend. I was very proud of myself.
Okay.
Actually tasted good. Okay, 26.
Weeks in a year.
Weeks in a year. 27.
9 lives of a cat.
9 lives of a cat. I wish that, like how lots of lives? 28.
16 minutes an hour.
Minutes an hour. 29. Yes, pairs of chromosomes in the human body. Very nice. Right? Oh, I love it. I love the reaction of like, oh, right. All right, 30. Squares on a chessboard.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
31.
8 planets in the solar system.
Planets in the solar system. So I don't know if that should be on, right? But okay. 32. Yeah. I've never had anyone get 32. You know?
No.
Balls to an ogre in cricket.
Oh,
Right?
Yeah.
I get hard.
You know
I'm
that
British, but I don't know.
sport that we play, right?
You know,
Okay. All right, 33. Years in a millennium, right? N34. One day at a time, one question at a time. Hey, add them up, see how many you got. Yeah, you can have the first ones at freebie from me. You're welcome. Right. It was 6 bucks. And open the one you could
Solid 10.
somewhat or no? Regular, very nice. All right.
Like where it says average.
All right, did we add them up? All right. All right, by show of hands, how many of you got at least 6? Right. Look at all you somewhat intelligent people, right?
Let's go.
How about 10 or more? Keep your hand up. I got 10 the first time I took it. Somewhat intelligent. Now you know who's standing in front of you, okay? 11 or more. 12 or more. We've officially moved to somewhat intelligent, right? Or intelligent now. We're intelligent. 13. 14 or more. Oh, we lost a bunch on that. 15 or more. 16. How many did you get? 16. 18. 20. Well, that's a record. I've never had anyone get more than 18. Very nice, right? You hold the 15-year record, right? Okay.
Oh.
Stop. But 18, you're still not, or you're genius, one genius level. So what are some problems with this test? Why is this not a great test of intelligence? And we're all like, I got reason.
People might not know.
Let's give it down so we can, yeah, sorry.
People might not know the phrases.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one very specific niche like thing, right? And you might not know it. Yeah.
I mean, it also depends on where you're at, like with the cricket one, like.
Probably. Right. The randomly threw in one other culture in there. Randomly. Yeah, I don't care about those. Right? There's no which sorry, I can't there's no context. No context. Okay, yeah, you just have letters, right? And that's it, right? What else? Yeah.
Some of it is relies more on this like trivia knowledge than
Very.
learned from home.
Yeah, it's very trivia based, a lot of it anyway, right? If you don't go to Baskin Robbins, you might not know that one, right? I know that one very well. What else? Any other reasons you can think of why it might not be the best? Yeah.
It's like a combination of different stuff. Maybe possibly have to be for.
Sure. Yeah. And a couple of people were like, yeah, it's a math question, right? Like a couple of people got the math and science ones or sports ones, right? Like you were so excited about the baseball one, right? I think that's actually a strength of this test is that it does have multiple areas of things. Is it representative of all areas? No. Does it have things that are random like cricket? Yes, right? So the issue is, what if I gave it to you again right now? Right? Genius level all around, right? Like all of you would get, I would hope you would get like a very high score, right?
You
Now-
got my intelligence.
Right? You would all be somewhat intelligent or higher. But one thing that we could do, in theory, if we wanted, I could give you half of this test and then give you the second half and compare results. That'd be one way I could check that consistency or reliability. The validity, so. The standardization, there's a lot of cultural stuff that's a problem with this, right? Like if you're not a big sports fan, you were gonna struggle on this. If you weren't from our country, you might struggle with it or do fantastic on it, right? One or the other, right? So there are some limitations. We have the same limitations when we do stuff like the WAIS, right? The Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale might not capture all the types of intelligence, but it's one of the better tests that we do have. Let's get through one more slide and then we'll call it after that. Another thing, and you can keep that or destroy it if you're like, I don't want to hear enough. Well, like I said, you got 10 the first time. So another thing that we can do is we can observe people. This is fascinating. I love, and I think that might be part of why I'm a psychologist. I love people watching. Anyone else? People watchers? You love to watch people? Especially people on a date at a restaurant. That's my favorite to watch, right? When the check comes, what happens? Ooh, it's so dramatic. I love it, right? Like people watching, this is people watching with a purpose. Okay, so let's say that you want to know like what toys are popular at the park or what structures are popular at the park. You could sit there and watch the kids play and record who plays with what and who does what, how many times they play or whatever. right? It's people watching with a purpose. If you're interested in someone's behavior, you could watch them. You can do this in a natural environment, which we call naturalistic observation. We're observing you in a natural setting. Or we can do a variation on it, which we call analog observations. And that's what's happening in the picture. If there's like a two-way mirror and they don't know that you're there, or maybe they know, but they forget that you're there. That's the idea, is that eventually they forget that you're watching and start to act naturally. Anyone observed down at our Child Development Center before? Yeah, all of you have child development majors maybe, right? Or
Our thought class.
oh, nice. Okay, was it research methods? Okay, great. How was that? Was that fun, interesting?
So,
Were you watching for anything in particular or just watching?
yeah, they're
Okay. So that's exactly what this is, right? My daughter, my oldest, not the one who eats fish and dip, but my oldest. Just so you can keep them straight, right? Because you're the stories about the most messy. My oldest, who's 13, went to our child development center when she was 4, right? For 1 year, she went there. And I loved it because I was spot on me all the time. And then she'd come home and we'd be like, how was your day? And she'd be like, it was good, you know, it was okay. And I'd be like, I saw that thing you did. And I would just leave it wide open like that. And she'd be like, wait, what do you mean? And I'm like, I was watching you. She's like, but I all like worried. She's such a good kid. She never did anything wrong. But it was so much fun to watch her. And sometimes we set up experiments where we watch like who plays with what, how many times they fight over something, right? You have a purpose and you're watching and recording data. You can also monitor yourself. Journaling is self-monitoring. It's like monitoring with a purpose. Like if so, let's say you journal, when do I crave like a substance? Who was I hanging out with before? How did I feel before? How do I feel after? Journaling, observing people, we get a ton of data from this like kind of stuff, especially with kids for the first 2. And then this is a very common one used for like addiction or anxiety, something that we want to understand better. We have you observe yourself and record like your thoughts and emotions around it. Okay? So next thing we'll do, we'll pick up here, we'll keep going. Please take some more Oreos on your way out so that I don't eat them all. Please. Have a wonderful rest of your day and I'll see you all on Wednesday. Right? Help yourself, there's so many left.
One minute, all these tests as well.
Yeah, you can take them with you, yeah.
yeah,